Get your barf bags ready, because it's about to get graphic. And I mean like really graphic. Is too far a thing? Those Who Deserve to Die, I can think of a few, is brought to us by director Brett Wood and stars Joe Sykes as Jonathan, a recently returned from the Middle East veteran who was held hostage and tortured for an undetermined amount of time and just barely made it out with his life. Jonathan is understandably troubled, but that may not all be due to his PTSD. Upon arriving in a small college town in Alabama, he starts to settle in, and around about the same time, people start to die in graphically gruesome ways. There's some weird shit going on in this town as a mass murderer is brutally killing seemingly innocent people. And as we venture down this rabbit hole, we find that there may be more to this twisted tale than we initially thought. Those Who Deserve to Die is an interesting movie. It's got some good stuff going for it, and it's got some bad stuff going for it too. It has an interesting story that keeps you wondering what the hell is going on for the majority of its runtime. And when the mystery is finally solved and you find out what the hell is going on, it is something that you can get behind. But there is a but we'll get to that in a minute. The performances are kind of a mixed bag. They're very hit or miss. Sometimes they're pretty good, and at other times they come across as very stilted and false. Now that could be explained away by revelations we have closer to the end of the movie, but I don't really think that's what it is. I think they're just stilted performances. And while there are hints of good performances here, the times that they're off is a bit more than I would like, and it does kind of tarnish the experience to a degree. There's also some inconsistencies with the story here or there. And while, once again, late in the game revelations can explain away some of that, it doesn't change the fact that a great deal of the movie you are dealing with some inconsistencies. And that late in the game fix can come across as a bit of a cop-out in some lights. So we got an interesting story with motives that we can get behind, though with some inconsistent performances and in the story department a bit. So we're sitting at about 50-50 here. So how about the technical side of the movie? Maybe that'll put us over the top. Now this is where the movie does really shine, I guess depending on who you are. This movie has absolutely fantastic, though horrific, practical gore effects that are so real looking that they could possibly make some people sick. Like no shit, the people that I was watching the movie with didn't make it past the opening scene. It was so graphic. Like they saw that shit and said, nope, I'm done. And that wasn't even the worst part of the movie. Suffice to say that when the gore is on, this movie is gory and gruesome as fuck. And if that is your thing, you'll be happy with those scenes. However, remember that butt I mentioned earlier? Yeah, well, it's a big fucking butt, and it does concern one of those scenes. There will be a few parts in this movie that many will probably say it took it too far, but it'll be one scene in particular that I think the vast majority of people will agree that yes, that is probably taking it too far. Me myself personally, I don't get offended easily, and there's very few instances where I think something is going too far. I know it's all make-believe, it's not real, it's entertainment. But this scene in particular is, I don't really know why this scene was here beyond pure shock value. And if there ever was a scene I was going to say took it too far, this probably would be it. Now beyond just what takes place in this scene and whether I think it goes too far or if it does go too far or any of that, what it does do is totally rob your main character of any sympathy that your audience will ever have for them moving forward. And at that point, it makes it next to impossible for the remainder of the movie for you to get behind this character in anything that they do. And you need to be for this movie to work, but you just can't. Some things are just irredeemable, and you don't have your main character do something that is so bad that the audience just cannot get behind him anymore. A villain? Yeah, sure, let them do it and it'll vilify them even more. But your main character? No, this character can do a lot of fucked up things and does do a lot of fucked up things, but there are lines that you don't cross. All moral stances aside, just from a storytelling perspective, if you do certain things with your main character, you will lose your audience, and that is what this movie does. It totally loses its audience due to the acts of the main character. And the craziest thing is that the thing that happens did not have to happen. It serves no purpose. Leading up to it, it is talked about between two characters, and there's pretty much little to no opposition to carry out this task by our main character. However, later on in the story, a similar situation comes up and this character is totally opposed to it and just will not do it. But a few minutes ago, you were more or less totally okay with it. I don't mind the fact that it was brought up. I get that. The person that brings it up and their reasoning for it does make sense. I was actually okay with that. But the fact that this character went through with it, that was the problem. And all performance and inconsistency issues aside, I could have gotten behind this movie and enjoyed it had they cut this small scene out. But seeing as how they left it there, it just totally ruined it. I just was lost at that point and just done. And once again, there are later revelations that could fix it, I guess, but by that point, it's too little too late. Guys, at the end of the day, I really wanted to like Those Who Deserve to Die. I was willing to look past some of the lacking performances and inconsistencies in the story because everything else that was going on I was enjoying. But unfortunately, due to this one act, it just ruined it. And not because of what it shows on screen, which, yes, that's bad enough, and yeah, it probably is too far. But mainly because it just totally shits on any sympathy you have or could have for this character and robs you of any investment that you had up to that point and moving forward. And while I guess there is still some value in the movie, for me, it just really turned me off. And if you want to check this one out, at best, check it out on streaming.
Across the street.
This one just barely makes that check it out on streaming rating. It turned me off so much with that one scene that it just about ruined the entire experience for me, and I was gonna go with USA Up All Night. But I do notice that there are some positives to the movie that just barely set it over that USA Up All Night line. So if you got a strong stomach and you're cool with very morally gray characters, then check this one out one night and you might be pleased. Honestly, the best you can wish for is that you might not be totally turned off by it. So there it is, guys, my review of Those Who Deserve to Die. If you enjoyed and want more content like this, hit that subscribe button and help my little channel grow. If you liked what I had to say, give me a like. If not, let me know in the comments below why. And as always, stay sexy, Mobile.
We will punish the guilty.
This movie's tough, man, I ain't gonna lie. I'm not one to get offended, like I said earlier, but fucking hell, who thought of that? Not really who thought of it, but who thought it was a good idea to go through with it on fucking screen? Because this movie doesn't cut away from shit. If anything, it just lingers on gruesome acts for uncomfortably long amounts of time. Really, it's kind of off-putting how long it will just sit there and stare at a person bleeding the fuck out in these awfully horrific, gruesome ways. I like blood and gore in movies. It's a good time, but Jesus, there were a couple of times I was just watching this like, fuck, okay, I'm feeling kind of dirty here. I mean, okay, moving on. And believe me, it takes a lot to make me feel that way. I don't really know what that says about me.